What if I told you that South Africa is on the brink of a cannabis revolution, but outdated laws and regulatory gaps are holding it back? Whether you're a grower, entrepreneur, or just curious about the state of cannabis laws in South Africa, this video will reveal everything you need to know about the legal framework shaping the industry. Let's explore the truth behind the rules, opportunities, and challenges. South Africa made headlines in 2018 when the Constitutional Court decriminalized the private use and cultivation of cannabis. This ruling marked a turning point, but it left many questions unanswered. Is cannabis legal to sell? What about growing for commercial purposes? And how can entrepreneurs navigate the licensing process to join this billion-rand industry? In today's video, we'll break down the current state of cannabis law in South Africa, how these laws affect private use, commercial activities, and international trade, and the steps South Africa needs to take to unlock its cannabis potential. Stick around to the end for actionable insights into how you can stay on the right side of the law while capitalizing on this growing market. In 2018, South Africa's Constitutional Court decriminalized the private use, possession, and cultivation of cannabis. This ruling came after years of advocacy, driven by the medicinal benefits and cultural significance of cannabis. Here's what the ruling allows. Private cultivation. You can grow cannabis at home for personal use. Private consumption. Adults are free to consume cannabis in private spaces. Possession limits. While the exact amount isn't specified, reasonable quantities are allowed, but only for personal use. But here's the catch. Selling cannabis is still illegal. Transporting large amounts can lead to arrest, and businesses face legal hurdles, even if they want to operate in the medicinal cannabis space. Does this sound progressive to you, or do you think South Africa is still playing catch-up? Let us know in the comments. Although private use is allowed, South Africa's cannabis laws remain strict and highly regulated. Let's break it down. Number 1. Medicinal cannabis. Under the Medicines and Related Substances Act, medicinal cannabis is classified as a Schedule 6 drug. This means it can only be accessed with a prescription, and only licensed growers can cultivate it for medicinal use. Number 2. Commercial cultivation. To grow cannabis commercially, you must obtain a license from the South African Health Products Regulatory Authority, or SAHPRA. These licenses are expensive, require extensive security measures, and are mostly accessible to large-scale enterprises. Number 3. Cannabis for Private Purposes Bill. Introduced in 2020, this bill aims to clarify the rules around personal use and cultivation. It proposes penalties for public use, sharing cannabis with minors, and unauthorized distribution. However, it's still under review and has faced criticism for being overly restrictive. Do you think the government should relax these laws to create more opportunities for small-scale farmers? Drop your thoughts below. While the global cannabis market booms, South Africa's small-scale growers are struggling to break in. Here's why. Licensing costs. A SAHPRA license can cost over 23,000 rand, not to mention the expenses for facility upgrades, security systems, and compliance audits. For many small-scale farmers, this is simply unaffordable. Lack of access to resources. Most small growers lack the technical knowledge and legal support needed to navigate the licensing process. Regulatory bottlenecks. Processing times for licenses can take months, or even years, and without clear guidelines, many applications are rejected. The irony? South Africa has a centuries-old history of cannabis cultivation, especially in rural provinces like the Eastern Cape and KwaZulu-Natal. These areas could thrive if the government supported small growers with training, subsidies, and streamlined regulations. What do you think is the biggest barrier for small-scale cannabis farmers in South Africa? Let's start a conversation. Despite these challenges, the global cannabis market offers immense opportunities for South Africa. The country's ideal climate and low production costs make it a potential hub for medicinal cannabis exports. Countries like Germany, Canada, and Australia have growing demand for medicinal cannabis products, and South Africa is perfectly positioned to supply these markets. Here are some stats to consider. The global medicinal cannabis market is projected to reach $73.6 billion by 2027. South Africa's cannabis industry could contribute over 20 billion rand to the economy by 2028, creating thousands of jobs in the process. But to unlock this potential, the government needs to simplify licensing processes, support small-scale growers with funding and training, and establish trade agreements to export cannabis products internationally. Do you think South Africa can compete with established players like Canada? Share your predictions in the comments. The path to a thriving cannabis industry lies in meaningful reform. Activists and industry leaders are calling for decriminalizing commercial activity. Allowing small businesses to sell cannabis legally would unlock local markets and boost the economy. Inclusivity in licensing. The government must create affordable licensing options for rural farmers and small-scale entrepreneurs. Public education. Misinformation around cannabis still exists, and public awareness campaigns are crucial for reducing the stigma. Neighbouring Lesotho is already reaping the benefits of a liberal cannabis policy. South Africa must act now to avoid falling further behind in the global cannabis race. From the Constitutional Court's groundbreaking ruling to the ongoing challenges of commercial licensing, the story of cannabis law in South Africa is still being written. If you're passionate about cannabis, whether as a grower, entrepreneur, or advocate, staying informed is your greatest tool. If you found this video helpful, here's what you can do next. Hit the like button to support our channel, subscribe for more deep dives into cannabis cultivation and law, and share your thoughts in the comments. What do you think South Africa's cannabis industry will look like in the next 5 years? Until next time, keep growing and stay informed.